Okay, fantastic. We are on. Warrior Sages, I'd like to introduce you to a very special good friend, colleague of mine, mentee of mine for a few years. This is Yen Young. Yen is an incredible entrepreneur, CEO, a man of the heart, man of conviction, family man. I could go on about you, Yen. One of the most amazing things from your background that I know of, and I'd love you to share about, is how you became famous on Shark Tank by having one of the biggest exchanges or offers on Shark Tank. So welcome, Yen. Thanks so much for being here today. We're going to share about business. We're going to share about overall equilibrium, life success, and what it takes, what it means to be a transcendent spiritual entrepreneur. Sounds good?
Yeah, thank you, Satyen. Thanks for having me.
So Yen, tell us about your journey in entrepreneurship. How did that start? And where are you today, please?
Yeah, the journey started very young. So my parents were immigrants coming over to this country when I was about a year old. They worked, in Chinatown, Manhattan for a while, and then my parents decided that that was kind of a dead end and moved us to Houston, Texas. And my dad actually moved first and started working in a restaurant. And within a year or two, the owner of that restaurant ended up having some health issues and wanted to get out, and ended up selling to my dad, kind of owner financed, if you will. And once that started, that was really where my entry point was into entrepreneurship, because all of a sudden my parents were business owners, and I was only maybe 8 years old, pretty young, and but they needed the free labor, so they pulled me in, and the rest was history. So I started, waiting tables, bussing tables, cleaning, working the fryer, which, in hindsight was pretty dangerous, actually.
That's really
uh,
hilarious because I had a similar background as you in that as well, growing up in a family restaurant. So
yeah, yeah. So
I think free child labor is an Asian thing. I don't know if that's the case.
maybe so, maybe so. But then, I decided as I got into higher education, decided that I wanted to continue with business. And so went to the business school at University of Texas here in Austin, and got a finance degree. And even after I graduated, I wanted to put myself in a position where I could be an entrepreneur. And so I started, going into wealth management, but in a way where I was building my own practice. So it was kind of self-employment, if you will. I figured, as a 20-year-old or 21-year-old, that was probably the best time to get into entrepreneurship and take the risk. That worked out very well. Did wealth management for almost 13, 14 years, and then ended up exiting that business, and sold my practice to some partners of mine, and had a good exit there. Then the reason for the exit then was because my brother, who was 8 years younger than me, decided that he wanted to maybe start a restaurant. And so he had come to me, and we had talked about it. And we did a lot of brainstorming for multiple years, came up with kind of a concept that was a little bit different, which was the concept was called "How Do You Roll?" And it was, think of sushi rolls, but you order it like a Subway sandwich or a Chipotle burrito. And so we basically kind of demystified and broke out the
Customized
sushi
sushi,
roll. What's that?
customized sushi that you'd like. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, customized sushi. That's exactly what we talked about. We called it the custom sushi shop. And so because the concept was pretty unique, we were getting some success. The TV show ABC's Shark Tank found us online and solicited us to go on the show. And at first we were reluctant and we didn't want to go on. But then they told us that they had 5 million viewers. That caught my attention. I figured it was a good marketing.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. So we got on the show, and we asked for $1 million, which was, probably not very many people ask for that much typically. And we actually got the offer. And so we worked out a deal on TV with Mr. Wonderful, and it was the biggest deal ever done on TV. So it was pretty cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Bravo.
thanks.
So
Yeah.
now you're in this very prestigious role as CEO of Casoro Group, Casoro Capital, Casoro Group, which is managing hundreds and hundreds of millions in real estate and such. Can you share about how you entered that world, and what is your position now? What do you manage?
Yeah, so after How Do You Roll, we grew pretty big, and to the point where we ended up selling it to a private equity out of California. And once we were done with that, I kind of took some time off and tried to reassess what I wanted to do. At that same time, I was having dinner with some friends and trying to catch up with people that I hadn't talked to in a little while. One of them was Monty and Natalie Lee Wynn, who are the owners of PPA Group, and we were just having dinner, and we knew each other from back when we were both in EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization, and so we knew each other that way, and we were just catching up, having conversations. And then Monty and Nally were like, "Hey, we're building this business. It's going pretty well, but we could use some help, especially around the capital and finance side, which was kind of my specialty."
Yes.
And at first, I thought I was just going to do some consulting for them, but it ended up 6 years later. I'm running the company and kind of helping them continue to grow that business. And so, the real estate is kind of interesting in the sense that it's a much longer play. So typically in stocks or bonds or anything else, people are trading daily, that sort of thing. But with real estate, it's really a 3, 5, 7 year cycle. And so that kind of intrigued me. So as I came in, I started helping them raise capital. We were able to do more and more deals. We were growing the portfolio. And then about 2 years ago, Monty said that he was really looking to retire and kind of enjoy life and take an exit. And he really wanted me to run the company. And so that's how I became the CEO of the conglomerate, which was the capital side, Casoro Capital, and then the PPA Group combining into Casoro Group. And so that's what I run today. And we've got, probably close to almost 6,000 units all across Texas, Oklahoma. And so the portfolio is probably close to probably 400, $500 million value. We've got 300 employees all over Texas, and it's a great business, and we continue to grow it. And housing is a great place because the uniqueness of what we do is that we're providing homes for people.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, if you have a better home life, you will live a better life. And so what we do is we try to provide better homes for better lives, right? That's
And that
ultimately
is
what
your mission, right?
that is the
So
mission. You got it.
better homes for better life. So one of the things that stands out, I've had the privilege, and I do have the privilege of being chief cultural officer for Casoro Group.
Yeah.
And when I went with you through a tour of Texas to the sites and I got
Yeah.
to meet everyone, what was really beautiful to see was the culture in the organization, the values in the organization, the care. It was palpable. Can you share about, and the other thing is that all your employees, everyone, and I have the pleasure of guiding and mentoring and teaching them, they all love you. It's
Oh,
rare to find, it's rare to find uh, teams of 300 people that they're all congruently love aligned and are loyal to who you are. And I know you're humble about that, but I'd love you to share some of the qualities that, what do you think is happening? Why is your team so loyal and dedicated and willing to go the extra mile every day from your leadership? In other words, I want to know your leadership secrets for all of us.
okay. Well, I don't think about it that way, right? So I don't think I'm the leader, I'm the almighty, and everybody's got to listen to me and follow me. I've always thought of leadership as a service, and so in a lot of ways, I tell them they don't work for me, I work for them, right? At the end of the day, I work for them, and what I'm trying to do is provide the opportunities and help them get there, help them develop, help them grow. And so when I'm out there and I'm talking to them, I don't tell them that, hey, I'm your boss. That's really not true. If anything, they're my boss because they're the ones helping me make things happen. And so that's kind of the thought process that I have when it comes to leadership. So and through a lot of your help and your training about just kind of a transcendental leadership and transformative leadership is about really service and helping other people. And the reality is that if your people and your organization grow, then you grow as an organization. That's as simple as that. But if your people aren't growing and they're not able to improve and do better and improve their lives, all that stuff, your company cannot grow. Your company is going to be stagnant because you're not going to get what they need to put in to get your company to where it needs to go. Now,
This is
yeah,
what
go
I've
ahead.
noticed, your emphasis on personal growth and human potential and uplifting the whole human on all levels of being. That is essential. Everyone from the top, the executive team, all the way down to the ground floor worker. You've given them the opportunity to have a place where they can not only just make a paycheck, but that they can grow as a human and grow in community. Please share more even about that.
Yeah, so a very big belief of a couple of things, right? One is that as human beings at a very fundamental level, we need autonomy. We need to know that we have freedom to go do what we need to do. We need to have mastery, the ability to go and learn and grow because our brains, from the moment we're born, we have this love of learning and curiosity. And then the final thing is really purpose, right? And if you're working where there is no purpose, then you tend not to last very long, or you end up being unhappy. And so we want to make sure that in the environment that we're at, that all three of those elements exist, that they have the autonomy to go and make things happen. They have something that they're mastering, growing, learning towards, and then they have a purpose that they're there to, you know, build better homes for better lives and help communities. I mean, one complex is easily 300-400 families that we're working with, and they're paying us rent to be there. And so we want to make sure that our people understand that their purpose is to provide this a place to live that's safe and good, so that those people can prosper. And so that is the passion and the purpose. And we do that by living our core values, right? Well, I heard you say something about caring, and that's one of our core values is we care, right? So one of the great things that Monty and Ali did was that they created core values that we could all live by, right? Being bold, caring, speaking to inspire, right? Seeking and being teachable and being growth oriented, always seeking the best. So all of those expectations are a part of our organization and the fiber of who we are. And so I give that great wisdom to really Monty, who created a lot of that. I'm really just the steward of that to get all the people to truly believe it, number one, and truly live it. And then when we live it, we grow, and everyone's happy, and things are going the right way.
Beautiful, yeah. Yen, one of the things that I've noticed with you, through the years is that you have this, you're very passionate right now, but when you're leading your company, you have this stoic nature, this very grounded Zen-like nature. It doesn't look like you really get perturbed by too many things. Can you share about that and how you cultivate that for us business leaders out here?
Well, I like to think that I try to stay calm in most situations. I can't say that I always do. I always have to work on it myself. One of the big things that we talk about in our organization in terms of personal growth is really this idea of EQ. And people hear a lot about IQ, how smart you are, but not enough people talk about EQ, which is your emotional quotient, and how smart you are in terms of your emotions. And so a lot of what we try to do and why we bring what we bring to the organization is to help people with their EQ. Learning to respond as opposed to react, right? Look, we all have feelings. There's nothing we can do about that. Our amygdala is designed that way. Moment a stimulus comes, an emotion is triggered long before we can think about it. And if we just take that emotion and we just act upon it, then that becomes a reaction. Instead, what we try to teach our people, and including myself, I try to spend a lot of time saying, hey, first I have to reflect on the emotion that I have at that moment. I have to first recognize actually the emotion, then reflect on it. Then I have to reframe the situation and then choose to respond. And so a lot of times I'm doing that in a very condensed time frame. And most people say, well, you seem like you're fairly unrattled. I said, well, I mean, I could be rattled too. You've never seen me around my kids. Sometimes I get pretty rattled. They get the best of me sometimes. But in terms of just as a person in general, I try not to let my emotions take over what I'm trying to do, and try to think through that, hey, I feel a certain way, but This is my response. And these are the things that are within my control that I can do something about. And the things that I have no control over, I have to let go.
Beautiful. Yeah, COVID hit a few months back, as we all know. And how did you support your team? Because your team, many companies, organizations, the whole world was hit with this instability. What's going on? What's the future? Where are we at? In Texas, I know is that all types of flows with what's opening and closing and all things happening there. How have you dealt with that in your company, and what's your suggestion to us?
Yeah, so the first step really was that because we were dealing with an unknown, we didn't know what was going to happen, how long it was going to last, how bad it was. We had an unknown to deal with. So truly, the first piece of the thing, the most important piece was that we had to get our emotional quotient under control, get our emotions under control, because it's very easy to take the fear and the uncertainty and extrapolate that into chaos, right, and disorder. And so the first thing we had to do was have a lot of conversations about, okay guys, let's talk more often. Let's understand the feelings that we have, but then let's look at the reality and then choose a response once more. And that was the first step. The second part of it was then execution of what do we need to do, how do we protect our people, what are our value systems and what are we trying to accomplish. And when we talk about that, then it comes down to making sure our people are safe, making sure our residents are safe. And so in doing that, it actually kind of laid out the plan to make things much simpler, because you knew what you were trying to accomplish. You didn't always know what every step that you were trying to do, but you definitely knew what you were trying to accomplish. So we got laptops for those that didn't have laptops. Those that had laptops, we made sure that everybody could log in. And within a week, we got everybody to start working from home, right? And making sure that everybody was okay and checking in on everybody. And we were literally doing daily huddles, meaning that every day we would jump on Zoom or jump on Microsoft Teams, and we would have conversations just to check in to make sure everybody was okay, make sure everybody was safe, and what did we need to work on. And in doing that, it just kept the company moving. It just kept everybody going. And we learned to how to work from home. There was adjustments and things like that, but we were just as productive as we were before. And that is because, you got everybody that is emotionally intelligent about the situation and not freaking out about it. You take steps to protect your people. And every time, we did have people that got COVID. And so when they did, we created protocols and said, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how we help them. And this is how we continue to protect everybody else. Right. And so it's a combination of all those things coming together that has gotten us through COVID. And I would say that that uncertainty has turned into a certainty now. It's not something that we freak out about, because we know that we can operate in this environment regardless of how it continues on. And so that gives us the power to just continue to operate as a company.
Fantastic, Ken. That much of that is based on who you're being, who we're being as leaders, who we're being, our internal disposition, the state of our being, our emotional intelligence, as you shared, how we're embodying that. That naturally affects our teams in a big way. If they feel us scattered, chaotic, struggling, overwhelmed, tense, angry, perturbed, the same thing goes into them. It leaks into them, gives them permission to do the same. Yet when we are feeling alive, awake, present, conscientious, grounded in our being, on task, that energy also pulls our teams up. They see us, they resonate with us, they want to become like us, they want to join us in our energy. I'd love to, you're an esteemed family member of our Equilibrium Circle of esteemed CEOs, which I have the pleasure to serve and guide and mentor. One of the main principles that we have, actually, the circle is called equilibrium. And that's one of the things that you do really well. You run, a substantial business. You have a wonderful family. I know you put a lot of dedication to your own health and well-being. I know you put a lot of dedication to your own inner awakening and self-study and self-mastery. Please share with us about the value, the importance of equilibrium, and how you live it, and how we can inspire other leaders, entrepreneurs to have more of that as the base of living.
Yeah, and I, and to be fair, I mean, a lot of the learning has come from you, Satyan, over the last several years that we've worked together. You've helped with that equilibrium, right? And so when I think about it, and we talk about the F's, right, when we're doing our sessions and things like family and fun and finances and all those things have to be in balance, or at least to the point where you want them to be. And in a lot of ways, the analogy I would give you is the way I think about them is that if each of those components were a sector of the pie or the wheel, they all have to be pushing out in order for the wheel to turn smoothly and continue down the road. If your spirituality is off, then your tire is deflated a little bit. If your finances are off, then your tire is deflated a little bit. If your own fun and enjoyment of life is off, then it's deflated a little bit. And all of a sudden that circle tire has little lumps in it. And when it's spinning, it feels bumpy. And as you go through life, it feels bumpy. And so the way I think about it is I'm always trying to push those things out and grow those and expand those things at all time so that my wheel is fully pumped up so that when I roll and I roll through life, I'm smooth, right? I can get through there. And that's how I think about it.
I love that. I love that. Beautifully put. Yen, I'd love you to share about what your feeling is of, entrepreneurship, business as a whole right now. We're entering a whole new reality. We've got an election around the corner. What's your feeling? What's your sense? How are we growing as a society? And what role do us entrepreneurs have in this?
The entrepreneurs have the biggest role. If you look at how things are and why we're successful, it's because of entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is a certain spirit. And that spirit is what forces growth, forces change, and creates opportunities and allows us to get to where we want to be. And so when I think about if you ever want to fix a societal problem, look to the entrepreneurs because they're the ones who have to go through the creativity, the toughness of what it takes to get there, to create visions, to be willing to do the sacrifices of what it takes to make things happen. That's really what holds the economy together, right? You got big corporations, but when you look at how many small businesses are out there, that's the other 80% of the economy and how the economy works. And when you think about job creation, if you're worried about creating jobs, create more entrepreneurs because every entrepreneur needs to hire more people. And that's really what then generates the changes and all the things that are happening. So entrepreneurship happens regardless of the political climate. And so whether it's a Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green Party, it doesn't matter because the entrepreneur is the most adaptive of all creatures in our society, right?
Yeah.
And I think back to Darwin's comment, Charles Darwin's comment. He said, "It is not the strongest nor the most intelligent of species, but rather the species that is most adapted to change that survives." And so to me, that's really what it's about. And so when you think about entrepreneurs, you're really truly a different type of person or a different breed because your sense of risk versus reward is different. The way you're willing to make moves and sacrifice is different than everybody else. And so to me, the entrepreneur is the foundation or the heart and soul of America and really the world globally from an economic standpoint.
Well said. And I know you've been um, developing, you have a mission on the side that we've been chatting about. And it's a hallmark of all of us entrepreneurs. Many of us entrepreneurs have achieved certain levels of success and freedom in our life. And I talk about three stages of business. The first stage is me centric. It's for gain and for egoic gain, for personal gain. Great, that's fine. Then there's the second stage, which is we centric, to have a caring of exchange, noble exchange, honorable exchange. You serve me, I serve you. We have fairness in our exchange, win win. Whereas the old paradigm was win, I don't care if you lose or not. That's your problem. But the second stage is win win. And now we're moving, I believe, some of us, and definitely those in our circle here, are moving into omni-win consideration, that as we grow, as we develop our businesses, as we develop our lives, that they're actually here to serve something bigger, something greater. So I'd love to hear how your success has brought you to this place, and what mission that has been evoked in you recently.
A lot of that comes with the thought process that if you're really truly a great entrepreneur, you do something that has impact and influence on other people. And what I mean by that is that it's not just the material success that comes with being an entrepreneur, it's how many lives did you help? And the way I always think about it is that, they say you die twice in life. Once when they bury you, and the second time when the last person says your name, your legacy, and the impact that you had, right? And so when you think about that, the idea of success alone is not enough, but rather you really need to think about your significance, meaning the impact that you've had on the people around you. How many people did you truly impact, help, and make their lives better, right? How did you make the world better? And when you do that, business is easy. Business is easy because now the purpose is there and everybody's passionate about what you're trying to do and everyone knows what direction you're trying to go. And so to me, when you think about the this idea of the going from me to we and then to be, right? I think that's the next stage. That only happens when you can, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, create something that is perpetual in its nature to help people forever, right? And it changes lives forever. And that to me is really the power here and the opportunity here to make the change, right? So how do you leave the world better than you found it?
Share with us this one mission that we've been chatting about.
Mission in terms of my personal life mission.
No, no. Remember, we were talking about this real estate training that you're helping develop for
Oh yeah.
minorities and such.
Yeah, so a little bit of background. The fund is called the Onyx Impact Fund, and we're just starting the development of it. The idea is to not solve symptoms, but rather solve the cause of the problem. Now we're in real estate, so that was kind of our expertise. But one of the things I learned about real estate and the real estate business is that it's fairly non-diverse, and the opportunities for a lot of minorities to get into that business isn't there. And yet it's one of the biggest wealth generators that is available, right? So what we're going to try to do is we're going to invest in real estate, but then we're also going to take the returns and proceeds and turn a portion over to a nonprofit 501c that focuses specifically on education for minorities and at a higher education level so that they can come into the industry, right? To create that opportunity. One of the things we found out there was that we talk about real estate, but then when you talk to historically Black colleges and universities, they have no program for real estate. It's not even on their radar. Yeah,
Mm.
it's not even on the radar. And so we're like, okay, well, why is it that we don't have qualified people coming into our industry? Well, nobody's training them. Nobody's providing the education. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the money, take some of the proceeds that we make, and we're going to turn around and invest directly into real estate certificate programs, internships, right? Scholarships for people that are going to study real estate so that they can come into the industry. And then as that starts happening, that will create the diversity. And then what you're going to probably find is a lot more entrepreneurs that are minorities doing real estate over time.
That's fantastic. My dad taught me years ago about real estate, and so did one of my early mentors. Shared with me the value and the power of it. Raymond Aaron, actually, and the Canadian real estate superstar years ago, a mentor. And back then I realized, you know what, this was such a very powerful vehicle. And we've been blessed to, invest in real estate, our family and such through the years. And I'm going to encourage everyone, no matter what time, what shows out there, economically unstable, stable, unstable, if you can find a way to learn about real estate and anchor yourself in something simple and start from there, then it's something that you have for a long time that can grow. There's many teachings, many sharings on that. I know you're an expert. In fact, I would love to ask you right now. You have two incredible books that are directly serving entrepreneurship and consciousness in that way. Okay,
Yeah.
and I believe I asked you to pull them out. So would you be kind enough to
Yeah.
share them and let us know
Yeah.
what they're about?
Sure. Yeah. So I've got two books that I've written. The first one was called The Blind Grind. And the reason I wrote this book was I really wanted to take the idea of what the success formula is, and how do you become successful. At first, the formula for me was, and this is just maybe the immigrant family thought process, which was you be quiet, you work hard, you save some money, and you'll be successful.
Yes. You
And then
work
I
hard
started
for 5 days a
realizing,
week, 16 hours a day.
yeah. And I started realizing, like, one of the things I wrote in the book was I said, what I didn't get was the average ticket at our restaurant was about 20, 25 bucks for a couple. And I was like, I only got paid like six at that time, I think like $6 an hour. And so I started doing the math. I said, I got to work 4 hours to have that meal that person just spent 25 bucks on. Something's wrong here, right? Something's off. And so the book is really about, well, what is it that you actually have to focus on to actually create wealth and create success for yourself? And most people think it's hard work, but hard work is actually not the element of success. So the book goes through and talks about 6 different elements of success, and that's where you have to focus. Hard work is a multiplier. So you've heard the term, don't work hard, work smart.
Yes.
It's really along those same lines. But then what do you do? So, for example, education level. There's mathematical proof, scientific proof that the higher your education, the higher your economic return in terms of income. Um, there's mathematical proof that if your network is bigger and the more people you know, then the more likelihood of success and money you can actually make. So that's what the first book is about. The second, so then when I finished this book, a lot of people that gave me the feedback on that first book. So after The Blind Grind, the people who read it came back and said, yeah, and that's really great, but you didn't tell me like how to actually make that happen. That's great that you told me that those are the things I need to think about, but how do I actually make it happen?
Yes.
So that's when I started working on my second book, and I've
Put
been
that up a
working with
little higher.
Andrea.
Put
Oh,
that up a little higher.
yeah.
Okay. The
It's called the
business model.
Business Model Blueprint.
Very good.
And I've worked with Andrea over at Beverly Hills Publishing, and she worked with me to hone down my message of what am I trying to tell people, right? I've already written the first book. What was the story on the second book? The second one is really the breakdown of what it takes to create a business so that you can have long-term success. And through that long-term success, you can turn success into significance, which is impact on people. So I kind of lay out in the second book of like, here are all the things you need to think about if you're going to go set up your own business, right? Everything from knowing your P&Ls to how do you deal with people in terms of employees and people that work for you and work with you. How do you save money? I mean, like the whole gamut. And so the second book is really to give you the blueprint to go build the success that the first book was telling you about.
That's fantastic. And
Yeah.
we have to get that for everyone in our team here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If, this is a group of warrior sages, people who have an interest in the path of the warrior sage to live a life of truth and love and impeccability and connected to wisdom. And we're all leaders, aspiring leaders. What's in your heart to share to us during these times as leaders?
You know, I think if you're in a leadership position and you have influence over people, now is the time to truly show the hope and the really the idea of how life is great and it's precious, and to get people out of the funk of, oh my god, there's a pandemic, or oh my god, I don't know who the next president is going to be. The human spirit is much stronger than all of those things. And as a leader, now is the time to really dig deep into the human spirit and know that the world has purpose and there is karma that exists out there, and that you as a leader get the opportunity to share that and really uplift other people. that might not have the strength to do it themselves. And that's, to me, is the biggest power in today's world. A lot of us probably lived through September 11th, and that really was, from a human spirit standpoint, almost a little bit demoralizing, right? I remember how down I felt, and yet here I am, decades later, and life is okay. And we go on, and I see my children, and I see people with grandchildren, and that spirit and that life is just so strong. As a leader, we've got to cultivate that and help people bring that out, and get away from the, you know, cloud raining on them, and move away to the sunshine, because the sunshine is still there beyond the clouds, right? The sun doesn't stop shining just because it's dark. And so, to me, leadership has the greatest opportunity to change that and motivate that human spirit, and we can make the world better that way.
Aho, aho. Yen, I'm so grateful for who you are, our amazing working relationship, our friendship, our dedication to the team and the big picture. And I really want to acknowledge the the living of the principles. You're a man that just doesn't learn, but you actually embody and live the principles. I'm very grateful for your share today. Anything last in your heart to express to us?
Just gratitude. You know, Satya and you and I have worked together for what, 3 years now, almost.
Yeah.
And I would say, me personally, as a person, I've grown tremendously because of your training and your teaching. And I don't know if you ever get enough credit, and you're so humble about it too. And so I just wanted to say thank you. And you know, I take a lot of what you say to heart, and really try to live it. And it's made all the difference.
Thank you, brother. All my love. Aho. We will see you
Oh,
soon. Thank you so much for sharing with our word sages today. Thanks, brothers,
thank you,
sisters. We love
Satyan.
you.
Good to see you. Take care.